Fourth quarter in Albuquerque. Utah State 38, the New Mexico Lobos 3, and it's second and goal from the 6 for Utah State. Drew Goodman, Anthony Herron, and Torrey Holt. End zone shot, and it may have been deflected, not handled by the junior tight end Keegan Anderson. It's hard to tell if that ball was deflected around the line of scrimmage.
Well, being down in this area of the field, even though we've seen Tay Glover Wright lead them down here, Daryl Garrettson back in the lineup, because there's certain areas of the field where you have a more specific playbook that you run, and you would think that Glover Wright just hasn't been as a part of the offense very much in practice, not enough to come down here and operate in the red zone.
They'll go empty on 3rd and goal at the 6. Van Leeuwen the widest to the near side.
Another potential tunnel screen formation down here. Looks like David Guthrie knew that as well.
Yeah, he was on the same page. So we'll see the Utah State field goal unit.
They had trips to the field side, and so as Ronald Butler just takes a step up the field, in theory, he's going to have 2 blockers up out in space, trying to keep the defenders away from him. Like the fact that he attacks the football, working his way back towards the quarterback to engage the ball, but the defense had it snuffed out.
Short field goal, 24-yard attempt by Diaz. And it's blocked. Saquon Edwards got it. Junior corner from Houston.
I'm surprised Edwards didn't catch it. He's a former wide receiver. He was on the offensive side of the football for the Lobos last season. And the amount of speed that it takes to come off the edge and block a kick like this as it comes off the foot is just immense, but it shows you the level of athleticism that he has.
I'll tell you what else it shows, honestly. Game's lopsided. It shows that the Bob Davies kids are still playing.
Yeah.
To go in effort like that and block what's a chip shot field goal, good for Saquon Edwards.
Very true.
And Carrier with the most room he's had all evening. North of the 30 to the 32-yard line. And in a quarterback number 3 is David Vega, a walk-on junior from Roswell, New Mexico.
Vega had to enter the lineup for them last week at Wyoming.
Well, Mitchum had a concussion. He wasn't available. And Gauci hurt that knee. Vega did throw a touchdown. Carrier, with a flag down on the field, picks up a yard or 2.
Offside. Defense number 97. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So it'll be 1st and 5.
It was an interesting situation they were in last week when Vega came into the lineup as well, because we showed the clip earlier of Cole Gauci where he had to leave the field. That was in the 4th quarter, late in the ball game, where they had trailed by 21 against Wyoming. Had a pretty ferocious comeback. A lot of yards being gained on the ground, passed the ball more than they had at any other point throughout the season, any other point since Bob Davies been here. And then all of a sudden, Vega has to go into the lineup and try to lead them back. And like you mentioned, he ended up throwing a touchdown pass.
A pretty good throw out in the flat to Magnet. And it's a 1st down for New Mexico. It's a walk-on to a former walk-on. Magnet's been awarded a scholarship, but when he arrived from suburban Rio Rancho, he was a walk-on. That is something Bob Davie wants to stress. He really wants to build that walk-on program. I think the best that we've witnessed in the last 25, 30 years, going back even before that, is what Tom Osborne did in Lincoln, Nebraska with the walk-on program there.
The way Osborne got that Nebraska program going, there were players who were turning down scholarship opportunities at other universities to go be a walk-on at Nebraska just because they wanted to be a part of what the Cornhuskers had going. That's certainly not where Bob Davie has this Lobos program yet at this point, but when you look at where they started last season, had the least scholarship players in the country as they entered the season last year. Now they've still been able to kind of build on that during this 2013 season.
This is Crusoe Gombe. He's tripped up in front of Dowdy.
And you hear some of the bigger storylines around the country when you talk about programs like USC that have been through sanctions and what Penn State is in the middle of right now with losing scholarships. And that's what the previous coach, Mike Loxley, he was in the middle of that with this New Mexico program. And what Bob Davie is now trying to bring them out of at this point. The last two classes that Mike Loxley had, they only had 20 players in those recruiting classes. And so that class, the last 2 years of Loxley and now the juniors and seniors on this Lobos team right now, the numbers are so diminished with the scholarships that it affects the depth of a program.
Throw it in the flat to Jarrell Presley. And he has a positive gain. You just have to keep your head up and stay positive, and it starts with Bob Davie, and he's all about that. The coaching staff keep the kids up because it is a process, and it takes time, and he realizes that.
Well, like you referenced earlier, Drew, he's been away from this for a while, or at least he had been before he took this opportunity last season. And Bob Davie had other job offers that came up over the years, but this, for a number of different reasons that he went into, seemed like the right one.
Van Leeuwen makes the fair catch. Utah State will have the football when we return. 11:27 left, fourth quarter, 38-3 Aggies. Utah State leading 38-3. Tonight's fan cam brought to you by Dairy Queen.
See some Aggies fans in the house here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, not too bad a drive. Utah State with the 5-touchdown lead. They'll have it at their own 13-yard line. And Darryl Garrettson still at quarterback. And it's Robert Marshall. You know, it's been impressive. You look at the numbers for New Mexico running the football, almost 350 yards a game, second in the nation coming in. The only three teams in the country that actually run it more are the three service academies, and they've got next to nothing done on the ground against Utah State this evening. Two tight ends for the Aggies here. It'll be 2nd and 5, and again it's Marshall putting his foot in the ground, trying to get north and south. And the offensive line for Utah State, anchored by Tyler Larson, has done a good job. Jamie Marcosian at one guard. Zini Tauavea at one guard. Kevin Wimpy, the left tackle. Eric Schultz, the other tackle. Gotta figure they're going to grade out well after this performance. As will Darryl Garrettson, the true freshman quarterback.
Number 27, Robert Marshall.
And Marshall got enough for a first down.
And it's enough for a Utah State first down.
How about the running backs, Anthony, at Utah State? How many schools in the country could say they've had 3 running backs drafted over the last 2 years? I don't know if there's another one. Utah State's had 3 running backs go in the NFL draft in the last 2 years.
It's a position that they use in a variety of ways, and so when you get to the NFL level, you have to be able to block. You have to be able to receive the football out of the backfield. You obviously have to be able to run the football. And with the way the Aggies operate on that side, it really puts their running backs in a position where they display that type of versatility that NFL coaches look for.
And Marshall's going to check out. Joe Hill, as we mentioned, was the starter. He went down with an injury. Picking up for him has been Joey DiMartino. He's been one of the stars tonight, close to 200 yards in total offense, been in the end zone 4 times. And Marshall's no slouch. And now they'll hand it off to Kennedy Williams. Kennedy not quite as big from a stature standpoint. He's 5'8", 160-pound true freshman from Las Vegas. And when you're in New Mexico, you have to say Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas, New Mexico as well.
See Williams just looking for opportunities to bounce the football outside. That's what you tend to see young ball carriers do, where they're used to being able to use that speed, outrun defenders to the edge. Now Williams is pointing as though he's going to block someone in pass protection. Let's see at 160 pounds if he can get that done.
No, he snuck out in the flat.
I would say a wise decision.
Yeah, he gets knocked down by Dallas Bolema.
And there's several plays like that, depending on the protection, where you really get the option as a running back if you're going to chip before you release, as we just saw Williams do there. But he avoided any contact. Just go ahead, get the free release. And here he is, pre-snap, just making sure, okay, there's the linebackers. You know, I got to make sure, you know, it's me and my other freshman I'm next to here, and Daryl Garrettson. I got you back, Daryl. All right, throw me the football. As defenders are just streaming through the backfield, waiting to clean his clock.
See.
Half the distance to the goal.
Yeah, there was a late hit called on Ronald Butler, so that'll cost Utah State 15 yards. Matt Wells was telling us yesterday, he was excited. He got Bruce Natson. JoJo had the long punt return. The other long punt return for a touchdown was wiped out by a penalty. He said, we finally got him over 150 pounds. and he wasn't kidding. Natson's listed as 151 pounds. He's listed at 245. That's the other number 9. That's Tyler Fackrell.
New Mexico has elected to decline a foul. 4th down.
And now Fackrell does have some game to him, though. He can play a little bit of offense as well. He doesn't move like JoJo, but he can receive the football, though.
They're going to fake it, and it's wide open. And something tells me this was done on his own. I have not seen a fake punt of that distance, I don't know, ever. Jason Bentrude went the whole way, and Wells not happy. You can tell he did that on his own.
I definitely agree. Matt Wells.
There's no way Matt Wells would call a fake punt up 38-3. And I'm sure that'll be the first thing that he tells Bob Davie when they shake hands at the end of this game.
There's usually formations that a defense shows in the punt rush team that you kind of have automatics built in within the special teams.
Yeah, and that's probably what Bentrude obviously saw, and he forgot about the complexion of the game. 72-yard fake punt, touchdown run by Bentrude, and it is 45-3. Mountain West Football on Root Sports is brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. And by GMC. Visit your local GMC dealer to see why incredible thinking is everywhere. Utah State up 45-3 with 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. The Aggies and the Lobos next week have a bye. And then Utah State will be home against Hawaii on November the 2nd. New Mexico will be on the road in San Diego to take on the Aztecs. The inaugural Mountain West Football Championship game will be played December the 7th. Visit MW.com for more information. And the way that works is the winner, obviously, of each division, but the higher ranked team in the BCS will host the football game.
Mountain West now having the 2 separate divisions, the ability to host a championship game. That's the direction most of the major conferences have had to go at this point.
Here's Vega. Look at this. Open field for Vega. Chased out of bounds after a long gainer. It's run by David Vega.
There you go, Mr. Vega. He held the mesh point a little bit, drew the defense in there. A little bit of burst out in space. He got a taste of the action last week out in Laramie. As banged up as they've been at the quarterback position, and honestly, as banged up as they're likely to continue being because of this offense where the quarterbacks take a lot of hits. We would anticipate they'll get healthy coming off the bye week, but wouldn't be surprised at all if we see David Vega again for the Lobos later in the season.
Carrier cuts it outside, and he's got room. Carrier came into the ballgame 6th on the all-time New Mexico rushing list. He's closing in on 5th if he hasn't eclipsed that already. And he's also closing in on 3,000 career yards at UNM. That's a whole bunch of running.
You think about the effort of the Aggies defense so far tonight with Casey Carrier averaging over 130 yards a game on the ground. That's just the 13th carry that we just saw there from him so far tonight. They've been able to keep him bottled up.
And Vega with a late pitch. Knocked out of bounds at the 1-yard line. Ridge Jones. Well, you want to talk about keep an option relationship down the football field. That was it right here. Look at Vega.
You talk about him threatening the defense. You see him working his way up the field, and then after he's declared, the defender knows that he has the football. That's where you pitch it. It's a bit of a dangerous pitch. It's through traffic. But you're down 45-3. Go ahead and make a bit of a dangerous pitch. Those are the types of moments that Cole Gauchi has had throughout the season.
Richard Stewart kept him out of the end zone. 1st and goal at the 2. With 6:24 to go.
Displaying one of those teachable moments that we talked about a little while ago. Because all this stuff is going to be on film. No matter how good it is, how bad it is, they're going to go back, evaluate this game, and point out every single positive and negative that took place with the team.
And that's the tough part. Bob Davie remembers his days when he was at Notre Dame. He said the wins were a relief. You hear that from coaches all the time. And the losses, they're just agonizing. I mean, maybe you sleep a couple hours tonight. The film will be broken down through the night, and they're at their office at the crack of dawn breaking it down. And then the kids arrive later on. Straight shot into the end zone, 2 yards away. And New Mexico in the end zone for the first time tonight. Casey Carrier, his 9th rushing touchdown of the year.
Not all the starters in defensively. We've got a couple of backups in there on the inside for Utah State. The crease there in the middle, off the pull, just trapped the inside backer there. Jake Dowdy couldn't get to the A-gap in time.
And the extra point is good, 45-10.
Number 98, Justice Adams is good. With 6 minutes and 21 seconds remaining in the game, it's now
one of the things Bob Davie told us yesterday, and one of the things he stresses with his team, act like a winner before you are a winner. I mean, and it goes back to everything he's doing is about process. And so you just like Carrier, I mean, listen, it's 45-10, I understand this, but you get in the end zone, boom, you hand it to an official right away. Get a first down, hand it to officials.
There's a reason they're the least penalized team in the Mountain West Conference, and that was really the same vein they performed in last season, one of the least penalized teams in the country in 2012, the first season that Bob Davie was the head coach of the Lobos. And he immediately came in, wanted to establish not only his style of play with the option, with the 3-4 defense, but wanted to establish his way of operating as a big-time player, as a player who's going to know how to win, like you mentioned there, Drew. Curious to see who's going to be at quarterback here once Utah State gets back on offense.
I know a guy who's going to be lobbying for it. Tay Glover right. Here's our Toyota game summary. Well, one of the big stars in the football game tonight has been Joey DiMartino, the senior running back from San Diego. Been in the end zone 4 times, 3 times running it, and once in the air. Close to 200 yards of total offense for DiMartino. 45-10 Utah State. And they have made a change in quarterback. Craig Harrison took that snap, the junior from Grantsville, Utah. He got some playing time last year in mop-up duty for Chucky Keaton. You know, we're accustomed now, when we hear Utah State, you think good football. I mean, last year, 16th in the country at the end of the year. Chucky Keaton helped put them on the map. But do you realize that since 1980, last year was just the 5th winning season for the Aggies. So this is new to them. And for New Mexico, just 9 times have they had winning seasons since 1980. That's why Bob Davie looks over at what has been done first by Gary Anderson and Logan, and now Matt Wells trying to continue it, and says, that's our blueprint. This is Kennedy Williams again, and he gets knocked down. I'll tell you who's shown up a lot, and he will on film tomorrow, is number 10 in red. Rashad Rainey's had a nice ball game, senior from Riverside, California.
Rainey was one of the players that Jeff Mills, the defensive coordinator, said this is really a playmaker position within our defense. The Sam linebacker is a guy who should be around the football a lot. And while Rainey's played well, 25 tackles coming in tonight, only 1.5 tackles for loss, but they want him to be a guy who can wreak more havoc for this defense. It's been the most impressive game I've seen of any of the film I've watched him with the Lobos. Well,
he's playing a backer, as you mentioned, but as Harrison completes it to Butler on the outside. But he's really a safety-sized kid, 205-pound athlete.
And they can use him in a multitude of ways. There's times where you'll see him out covering the slot. You'll see him playing in the box, penetrating into the backfield. There's a lot of versatility that they get out of that position, especially from an athlete like Rashad Rainey.
Fourth and 1. And Williams, I don't know. I don't think he got it.
I agree. If anything, it looked like maybe he got back to the line of scrimmage, but I didn't see a yard gain there.
Tell you another little story about Matt Wells. As New Mexico, they're not even going to measure. They denied him. Matt Wells, one of the youngest coaches in the FBS. He's also one of 12 coaches in the FBS who's the head man at his alma mater. He graduated in 1996. 3-year quarterback in Logan.
It looks like a situation where Robert Marshall was supposed to be the lead blocker for Kennedy Williams. Must have missed his blocking assignment.
And Vega is tackled for a loss.
Brought down by number 46.
That's Frankie Sotera. Free safety up around the line of scrimmage.
Yard on the play.
Been a 3-quarterback night for New Mexico. Gauci and Mitchum alternated for most of the game, and now Vega here in mop-up duty.
And a flag down.
And a flag down. I wonder if he was over the line of scrimmage when he threw that.
It certainly appeared to be. And again, it was B.J. Larson that was chasing him down from the backside. There's physical attributes that Larson has as a defensive end that are going to make him very appealing to NFL scouts.
Illegal forward pass. Offense. Five-yard penalty. Loss it down. Third down.
Watch as he disengages from the blocker. Does a nice job snatching off. And David Vega was beyond the line of scrimmage. It's a good call from the linesman.
So it's 3rd and 14 for New Mexico. And Vega feeling the heat, tucks it down. He's got a couple of yards out to the, or down, I should say, to the 42-yard line.
By number 95, Ricky Araujo.
4th and 7 for Vega and New Mexico.
Fourth down for the Lobos.
Well, you wondered coming in if the quarterback position for New Mexico would be able to perform at a level that would get the job done for them. And really both teams coming into tonight's game because of injuries.
You know, you give a lot of credit to Garrettson, but I think you'd agree with this statement. That's a good-looking throw by Vega, complete for a first down. Nice catch by White. That's Reese White, the sophomore from Rio Rancho, who went to high school with Cole Gauci, actually. But I think you'd agree with this. This game, and Coach Wells told Torrey this before halftime, this game was dominated by Utah State up front on both sides of the ball. And you give credit certainly to the freshman Garrettson, who was very impressive. But, you know, Gauci and Mitchum, it was more a lack of time and a lack of running room in the run game for New Mexico. 50-50 ball in the corner of the end zone, and it is broken up by Rashad Stewart. The intended target was Jarek Magnet. Vega's having fun, man. That's about the 3rd or 4th time we've peeked inside the face mask. He's got a big smile on his face. I know he doesn't like the scoreboard, but he's enjoying himself.
Yeah, that's most certainly what's supposed to be taking place down there. You like to see a player who's enjoying the opportunity to play football at the collegiate level. Still a walk-on at this point, not a scholarship player on this football team. He's behind 2 very talented quarterbacks. Neither one of them is senior at this point. So who knows if David Vega does get a scholarship opportunity. But taking advantage of the chance he's getting on the field tonight.
Gongbe gets a yard, and that's all. Time now for What's Next, brought to you by CenturyLink, your link to what's next. Next week, Wyoming will be in San Jose to take on the Spartans. Cowboys will try to bounce back. They had a tough one today in Laramie. We're on the air at 5 in the Mountain Time Zone, 4 in the Pacific Time Zone. CenturyLink, what's next?
There will need to be a response from the Cowboys and quarterback Brett Smith in that game next week.
And Vega has a pass picked off, but a flag came in. The pass was picked off by Cameron Sanders, but there was contact, and it's going to go against Sanders. There was contact while the ball was in the air. It's going to be interference on Sanders. That or defensive holding in the secondary, though.
15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Rich Jones was attempting to run the fade route up the sidelines. And Cameron Sanders, I don't know if it was Sanders or if it was maybe just a stiff breeze, because Rich Jones only goes 158 pounds, but there was something that forced Mr. Jones out of bounds as the ball was in flight.
There was an element that that moved him beyond the boundary.
Some sort of unidentified object. We are in New Mexico.
Yeah, we are in New Mexico. that was apropos. And Vegas from Roswell, New Mexico, right? It all fits.
Coming full circle here in Albuquerque.
That's wide of Magnet, incomplete.
Pass incomplete, intended for number 87, Jared Magnet.
Let's take a look at the updated Mountain West standings. So Boise won tonight. They beat Nevada, so they're 3-1 in conference play, 5-2 overall. The Pokes are now 2-1 after losing to Colorado State earlier. That's a kind of a foundational type of win for Jim McElwain in Fort Collins. Fresno State winning tonight, unbeaten, nationally ranked.
There's some teams around the Mountain West Conference that have been building towards this moment. Connor Williams has laid every bit of his 280 pounds on David Vega.
Vega's going to need help getting the jersey back on. Timeout on the field, 102 left, 45-10, Utah State. 20th meeting between Utah State and New Mexico. This one will go to the Aggies with 102 left. It is 3rd and 10 for New Mexico from the Utah State 17-yard line. Vega steps up in the pocket. It breaks down. He's still behind the line of scrimmage, and he's got it complete. That was creative. Jarrell Presley with the catch for 9 yards or thereabouts.
David Vega certainly looks on the field like a guy that's used to having success. There's no quit in him. Evades the rush, leaves the pocket, gets his shoulders back around, delivers a somewhat awkward-looking pass, but he's got a defender hitting him in the chops at the time, so that's understandable. This kid won 2 state titles in high school. He was a state player of the year in New Mexico before he came out.
4th and 1. Vega is wide of his target, and that'll end the drive. Reese White was the intended target. He was upset he couldn't finish that drive. And Utah State will put a knee down and conclude this game officially. Well, it'll be a pleasant trip back to Logan, Utah. They'll snap a 2-game losing streak. They'll get to 500 on the season, will the Aggies. And they'll also get to 500 in the Mountain West Conference. New Mexico will fall to 2-5 and 0-3 in conference play. And as I mentioned earlier, both teams will have a bye to get ready for their next opponent. For the Lobos, they'll be in San Diego to take on the Aztecs. Utah State, after the bye week, will be home to take on Hawaii. 3 of their final 4 games as they try to get bowl eligible will be in Logan, Utah. You know, Coach Wells knows a lot of those kids well. He recruited many of them when he was at New Mexico. Once again, the final score here in Albuquerque, 45-10, Utah State. Now let's get it back to our Root Sports studios where Jenny and Matt are standing by.